about making a digital breakout. I got the idea just by looking at what a lot of people were posting about what they wanted to get done and or what they're trying to do for their virtual learning and distance learning. And I love digital breakouts. I'm a bit of an addict. So I thought that I would offer some ideas and suggestions. David Olson over there, my buddy from Madison, he kind of got me thinking about, hey, maybe I could do this virtually. So David, I appreciate you joining in as well. And also for checking my links to make sure everything works. So again, hopefully everybody can hear me. And just double check. If you can give me a yes, you can hear me, Chuck, that would be awesome in there because I keep on going back and forth on my microphone.
I can hear you.
Awesome. Perfect. So if you guys want to mute your microphones, that would be great. You can go video on or not. If you, that's all up to you. But if you do have a question, I'm going to try to stop along the way with to answer some questions. My goal out of this entire presentation is when we end this presentation, and you can drop out anytime you want, no harm, no foul, but is that you have the makings of a digital breakout that maybe you can use with your kids virtual learning wise, or once we get back into those classrooms, that you can do it as well. So hopefully you got a chance to experience a little breakout with my Capital breakout. This was actually something that I had created for our Wisconsin Council of the Social Studies conference that we were going to have last weekend. Unfortunately, it was canceled. So I made it in part to get people to learn about Madison, and I bet you, David, you went through the whole thing real quick because you're a Madison guy, but also to get to show a little bit about what a digital breakout is. So if you're interested in checking out one, if you didn't get a chance to, you can go to this bit.ly right here, Capital Digital Breakout, and I gotta switch my my presentation here. I want to present now. All right, I'm switching over to because I have actually two computers going on here, trying to figure out how to make this work pretty well. But if so, hopefully you're seeing my screen now, I think, right? So when it came to the Capital breakout here, there we go. I think. Yeah, so hopefully you're about to see my Capital breakout. And my Capital breakout was just an exploration of the Capital. But basically, I think you all know what a digital breakout is. A digital breakout being a breakout being I'm defining it is sort of a themed or content-based collection of digital locks requiring problem solving to complete a challenge. That's kind of what I like to describe it as. Just want to make sure we're seeing the same thing here. Are you guys seeing a, yep, there we go. Okay, I got my two screens going on here. So that's kind of the definition, that theme or content-based collection of digital locks requiring problem solving to complete a challenge. And that's what my example was. You're locked in the Capitol building. You know, you got there kind of late at night. You're searching around. You're locked in, and you got to get out. And that's was sort of the theme of mine. The goal of it was to get those digital locks to get out of the Capitol building. I see digital breakouts as having multiple purposes if you want to, however you want to use them. I've used them for preview. I'll give you an example in just a second. For review, I use them to deliver content, basically like an assignment, you know, instead of me lecturing, which I don't do much anymore, but it's a great way to deliver any type of content. It does require collaboration. I like to do them in teams and class. I'll tell you about that. And of course, they're very, very engaging. I know some of you have utilized a digital breakout before. Some of you haven't utilized a digital breakout before, but they are they're just fun to do. I mean, but then again, I'm kind of a breakout nerd. I just enjoy doing them. Here's an example of one that I've used to preview. or to introduce a topic. This is actually what my kids are going to be doing next week. First thing when we get back to school, virtual school, they're going to break out of the Roaring Twenties. It's a great way to get kind of introduce the Roaring Twenties to them and give them ideas about how the Roaring Twenties can be divided into different themes that you'll see over here. That's linked in your notes if you want to take a look at it, and I might reference some of the clues that it can be an introduction to an entire unit. That's kind of fun. This is a review. My good friend Tom Mulaney from North Carolina, he does some amazing breakouts, and I've got his link for you as well. He's got a poetry digital breakout. A lot of his are really, really quick. This could be used almost as an exit ticket for some. You can do a quick, like 5-minute exit ticket breakout that can work out pretty cool. I use it for content delivery. Breaking out of the Wild West. This is one where I have students look at 11 different aspects of the Wild West, and they actually have to take notes as they go along, and they have to identify, was the Wild West good, bad, or ugly, like different aspects of the Wild West. But all along the way, they're also trying to find some codes, some clues. So a couple of these I actually have students take notes on, and then even if they break out first, I still do go back and assess their notes. And then also skill development. This is a link to one where actually the entire breakout, the clues all deal with finding volumes of cones. So that could be a quick exit assessment as well. My point being is that digital breakouts can be used for a variety of different uses in your classroom. So now that I've got that, the whole goal of this is to try to get you to make a digital breakout. Just checking to see if there's any things on the chat here. We're looking good. Again, if you have any questions, you can pop them in there or jump in. But you saw that there's like all these different breakouts, and I know many of you have done different breakouts, or some of you have mentioned that you have looked at breakouts before. The one I want to make today is on Google Sheets. And so in order to do a Google Sheets breakout or any breakout, these are sort of the basic things that I think you want to consider. Obviously, you need a theme. You need to say, so what are they going to do? What's their breakout going to be? What's the story going to be, sort of? An end goal. Are they going to, and I'll talk about that in just a second. There should be one lock, more than one lock. What different sites you can use. I'll show you a couple, but we'll be making one on Google Sites. What are the clues and what are the locks? Those two things go together. And then something that I really like is how do you celebrate? Okay. So that's sort of the when I'm thinking about a breakout, I try to do these, and maybe not necessarily in this order, but definitely I want to have the theme down. I want to have some sort of fun theme. And so that's the first thing I'd like you to think about. And I'm going to give you about, after I jabber a little, give you a couple seconds. But what kind of theme would you want to have for your digital breakout? In other words, what are your kids going to break out of? Why are they going to try to find the locks? My West one, I say that they're like Marty McFly in Back to the Future Part 3. They go back to the West, and they've got to find the locks to get back into the DeLorean to go back in time or back to the future. The one I showed you is they have to break out of the Capitol. Sometimes you have to break into something. They could be spies, and they have to figure out certain codes or whatever. Just I want you to consider for 30 seconds or a minute, what kind of theme could you have for a digital breakout for any one of your curriculums? Notice that like Rachel is teaching a whole bunch of stuff. Holy smokes. So, Rachel, if yours is like art appreciation or music and art appreciation, you could break into a museum, break out of a museum, break into a safe or something like that. I think there's a ton of ideas. But yeah, Chris, with a factory during the Industrial Revolution. Let's see, econ could be into a vault, could be into the Federal Reserve for Carly there. David, for criminal justice, you can break out of jail, right? But if you can think about a couple of those ideas, and then you want to sort of come up with a storyline. My storyline for my West one is you're like Marty McFly, you've been sent back to the future, or back to the past. My storyline for the 1920s, you're trapped in the past. I've got 3 Cold War ones that I love to use, and those 3 Cold War ones they're quick one hitters pretty much, but you're looking for spies, which is fun. Obviously, kids love that. Being locked in the Capitol building is a good one. So if you can think of anything, and then we'll get moving on to how you can get these things going here. I'm going to give you about 20 more seconds of think time. All right. So maybe you have a theme in mind. Maybe not. Maybe we're just going to build the structure of the document itself, or the site itself. Okay. You also need to have an end goal, because in my mind, the concept of a breakout isn't that you have to get 19 locks or 32 locks or 5 locks or whatever. You can have a single lock. I use physical breakouts or escape rooms as well. I'm sure you've all heard of those too. Seriously, in my room, one box with one combination lock on it, locked, is a breakout. It's an escape room. It's fun. It's kids trying to solve problems and open up a code or whatever. So you could have one single lock for your first one. And that single lock could lead to opening up and that can be your exit ticket. It's really easy. Or you can have multiple locks, like some of the ones that I've shown you. But the cool thing about using Google Sheets to make a single lock or a multiple lock breakout is you can change it as you go along. You can just edit it and add a lock and add a lock and add a lock. It's pretty simple. It doesn't have to be set in stone. So hopefully you have a theme. Hopefully you have an goal. Okay. And then now you need to make your digital site. There are a variety, and since you're all on here, I'm pretty sure you all have some sort of technological capabilities here, right? There are a lot of different ways or places that you can make digital breakouts. All right. Breakout EDU, I'll show you a little about that if we have time. They have their own digital breakout site that you can make, and it's really nice. It's slick. It's cool. I don't think it's as the reason I don't use it as much. No offense to Breakout EDU, because I love them, but I can get more content, I think, in using the Google sites. I've made one in Weebly before. I've made one in Wix before. I've made one in WebNode before. But whenever I do it in Wix or Weebly or whatever, I always come back to using a Google form. And everybody has access pretty much to Google sites. So I'm going to show you an example of Google sites. Okay, how to do one in Google sites. Same thing with the codes. Now, what I'd like you to do, I'm going to go backwards real quick. I apologize. Is if you go to this document right, where's our digital breakout document? Not that right here. Hopefully everybody's seen this right here. Okay, everybody's got that, I hope. Here you've seen that I've got some examples, the planning, and the host sites. What I'd like you to do is right here in the middle, here's a template that you can open up and make a copy of. All right, I'm thinking you should be able to make a copy of this. If not, I'm not correct. So if everybody can click on this, just want to make sure that it's working for everyone. And if you can jump in either on chat or out loud and say, yep, it's looking good. I see Sue is on there. And Anonymous Grizzly. Okay, great. So it seems like people are getting it. So what you want to do here is click the 3 dots and hit duplicate site, and then it becomes yours. Come on. Okay. You can name it anything you want. So, whatever. I'm just going to go sample digital breakout here. going to save to your folder, and it should copy the site. And I'm going to give you a couple seconds to do that. Let me know how you're feeling about this. Everybody seems like they're feeling good. All right. Good, 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 good. Give you a couple seconds there. Crack your knuckles. Great. Awesome, awesome. Okay. Now, so what we have here, I'd say raise your hand if you've played with Google Sites before. Can you raise your hand on Google Meet? I don't know, because we're using Google Meet for our virtual stuff, right, Sue? So I don't know, maybe it's just gonna be kids shouting out. But if you haven't used Google Sites before, it's really, really simple to make a website. You can edit this any way you want. Obviously, up here you put the title. You can change the background image if you want to. That'll be back here. This is where I would put my narrative. All right. And if you did my example one, or you saw my example one, if I can get to that, right? Like here's mine. Here's my narrative. And I made links here to all of the different things where I'm going to have my clues. Okay. And you can do the same thing up here if you want to. This is kind of the narrative. So this is your home page. This is where they're going to be able to find and access clues. So you are going to want to change your title to let's go break out of what do I want to break out of? Actually, let's do one. I'm trying to think here. What could I could have a good one coming up, right? Doing the Great Depression, doing the 1930s. Maybe I'll do FDR. Break into FDR's office, we'll say. He left some papers in there or something like that. Okay, I'm just making that up. Then here's where I'm going to put my story. This is the story. Okay, and that's where you can do that as well. All right. Now in Google Sites, what you can do is to get to the clues or whatever. You could add more text right on this document right here if you wanted to. All you got to do is take text box. It'll insert a new text box right here. You can start typing in that bad boy, or you can delete it. Or in your narrative, you can click any word, as you probably know, and you could insert a why isn't it that easy? I mean, I just do Command K, but you can insert a link. All right. I usually do Command K, so it's a lot easier that way. I'm not sure why it doesn't say you can insert a link. What do you know? Okay. Or maybe we just do this. Oh, duh. You just click on it. You can insert a link there. Hello. Okay. So that link to one of your clues as well. All right. What I'm trying to show you here is you get your basic site, your title, and then your narrative. And then in order to get kids to find this, you publish it, and then you give them the URL. When you publish, it'll ask you, do you want to make changes or whatever? Absolutely. You publish it like this. And then you've got, and then you can view your published site. And then this is the URL you want to give your kids right up there. Okay. Is that making sense so far? Let's see. All right. Feeling all right with those? That's just the basic setup, right? Okay. David, how many pages on your site do you typically have? One for each clue. It depends on It depends on if I'm trying to deliver a lot of content or if I'm just trying to have them search. But an example would be for my Wild West one, I had 11 topics I want them to look at. So I had 11 specific pages that I wanted them to look at. For the Capital one, sometimes you can send them out to like pages that are offline, you know, or send them out to like the History Channel and watch a video, or send them out to a YouTube channel or something like that. Of course, you can also input YouTube and video into your Google site as well. So it really depends. But having one for each clue often is helpful to kids, because if they go to a page, they probably realize that, oh, there must be a clue on this. All right. Okay, so oh, by the way, and I am recording this, so if you have to go back to it, because I know I'm kind of move fast, but I want to try to respect all of your time as well. So here we have our digital breakout, right? If I want to add a page, it's real simple. Page, and this is something that I did want to show in Google Sites. If you haven't done this before, if I want to add a page, I click page, I come down here, I add a new page. And so maybe I'll call this Francis Perkins, who was one of FDR's cabinet members, first female cabinet member. All right. So I'm going to make a new page for Francis Perkins. Now, if I don't want that Francis Perkins page to be seen, okay, if I don't, because what it'll do is it'll put it as part of the automatic menu up here. What I can do is I can click on the right here. I'm getting a little lag on my computer here. And then I can hide from navigation. So watch what happened here. If I show a navigation, see how it shows up here on the top right? But I want them to not just click on that. I want to hide from navigation. So now I can do a clue here about Francis Perkins. How can I get them to it? Well, I'm going to go back to the home. And then I'm going to say, FDR left some important papers with Francis Perkins. Okay. And to get to this, I just highlight here, click my link, and I can link to Francis Perkins. Actually, I'm going to link to all of her name. If I wanted to link to an outside website, I could copy a URL in here as well. And that's really all you need to know about basics of building the site. You can either link to the website outside of your breakout or the website in your breakout, right? And I'm going to retitle this while we're at it here. There we go. Okay. So students go to this right here. They are going to realize that FDR left some important papers with Francis Perkins. They're going to click there. It'll take them to the Francis page once my image gets moving. This is going to be one of the issues we have at the Taft household with 3 students home at the same time and my wife working from home as well. So might have to boost up that AT&T. Okay. So that is how you make links within your site. Again, publish your site, then send out your site. We're good to go. Do you have any questions about the basics of just building the site off the template? Obviously, you can put in pictures and things like that, but really, it's, you can make it look as nice and neat as you want, but the concept is more. I want to get more to the locks. So if you can give me a thumbs up or all good with how to make the site, I'm going to move on. All right, sounds good, Lori, Sue, Chris, thanks, Hitch, David, thank you. Want to make sure Carly and Rachel and Anna, are you still doing all right? Sweet. Awesome. Okay. Now, here's the fun part. All right. I mean, okay, nerd guy, right? Love this stuff. But also, what you want to, the cool part about the breakout obviously is the locks. This is a lock template for you as well. What you can do, there's two ways you can access this lock template. Okay. You can click right here, open it up, new tab, and then make a copy for yourself. All right. It's a Google form. Or if you go to the notes that I gave you, it's the same template available right here for you. So I want everybody to take a second and grab that template, that lock template, because this is where you obviously make the locks for your students. All right. So if you can hopefully access that, and we will move on how to make the locks. And it's got some instructions on there you built in. So if you give me a thumbs up on downloading that lock template. Looks like we're getting good there. Sweet. Okay. All right. So here's the fun part, right? Because it's where you get to mess with kids. I love that. So here's the digital breakout locks. A digital breakout lock is all it is a Google form. Okay. And you can customize this form to fit your needs, as I say right there. You go ahead and edit it. Okay. You give it a title. You can put your narrative in there if you want to, like whatever you want. And then you can make your different locks. And these, I gave you examples of number locks, color locks, letter locks, directional locks, date locks. You can make it anything you want. You know, it doesn't matter. It could be some random set of letters or whatever. It's all up to you. When I do my own breakouts, like my physical breakouts in class, I've got like 13 different types of locks. But that's it. Here you have infinite number of locks. And how you make it so it's a lock is, again, as a Google code or as a Google form, you add an entry. Okay, so here you have a 4-number lock, and I always put no spaces or dashes, just 4 numbers, because you're going to identify 4 numbers that they have to have in order to open that lock. So here's the no spaces or dashes number, and you can modify this as anything you want. But you want it to be a number. You want that number to be equal to whatever your number is. In this case, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the cool thing is you can insert a hint here. So like I've got number equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. And my hint is going to be start at the beginning. Okay? That's what just for a fun hint. So what this is doing, and I made it required here. So what this is doing is this is saying that in order to get this 4-number lock right, it has to be equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. They have to type in 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So here's what it would look like if I preview it. And this is why I love those hints are the fun part. So if we preview it now, here I've got my 4-number lock. My answer is 1, 2, 3, 5. How'd I do? Oops, I got it wrong. The hint is start at the beginning. All right, then I'm going to go to 1, 2, 3, 4. And because now that I got 1, 2, 3, 4, and the hint doesn't come up, I got the code right. So you got to maybe tell your kids that if nothing comes up once you put in when you put 1, 2, 3, 4 and hit the answer, you got it right. If you don't, that hint's going to come up. And that's how you make your locks. It's really, really fun. So think about, and this is where you could make a 1 clue or 1 code breakout. Here I've given you the 4 numbers, the color, the 7 letters, the directional, the dates or whatever. If you want to get rid of them, that's what this trash can's for, right? Boop, boop, boop. Okay. If you want to add one, and you've got one all set up that you like, you can hit duplicate. Maybe I want to go to, oops, sorry about that. Let me get back here. Ah, there we go. Nope. If I want to duplicate one, now maybe I want to make it a 4-letter lock. So now instead of numbers, my answer is text, which contains that. We'll call him the big president guy. And I make it required. So now I've got another set of locks, or another lock, I should say. Okay. Now, Carly, can you explain how the color and directional locks work? For example, how do the clues add up for those locks? All right. So, I tell you what. Let me hold off on that. Does everybody understand just how to do the locks with the 4 numbers and the 4? How to make a lock, and it's easy to make 1 or 2 to start off with. Are letter locks case sensitive? Yes, they are, and that's why I always put all caps, no spaces, always. Okay, I try to give them as much specific information as possible. Does everybody feel comfortable on being able to make a lock? Awesome. All right. It really depends on your comfort of your Google Forms. Okay. What you then do is you take that Google form, you go to your Breakout. I'm going to dump this right here. And then you insert on that home page from your drive, you insert your locks, and it'll just drop it right on the bottom there. All right. Once my lag starts going here. Okay. So you're going to insert those locks, and you will be all set once my internet works here. Here it comes. My drive, I would go with my digital Breakout. Here's my locks. There they go right there. I can move them around. I can size them. There's my 4-number lock, my 4-letter lock. We are good to go. Sound okay? All right, so where we are now, we've got the basic site. And whenever you hit publish, you'll save it. We've got the locks. You can do your locks all you want. Now that we've got the site and the locks, we got to go to the clues. And this is my favorite part. I love coming up with good clues, and I've given you a whole bunch of possible clues that you can do. A whole bunch of different resources. It all depends on what you want to do. You can be as creative as you possibly can. Here's an example. Carly, you asked, I think, about the colors or the directions, right? So let me get out of here. So this here's an example of how you can use directions. I mean, most of us are social studies teachers. Directions are great. So if you looked at this one, you're out on the town in a beautiful Madison. You started at the concourse, checked out the Veterans Museum and the Historical Museum on Capitol Square, then headed over to the blah, 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 all that. And each one of those I have located on this map. And so by following these on the map, you're going to get west, or actually it's going to be south, south, west, west, north, west, south, east, north, northeast. And the kids have to use the map, or the users have to use the map following along on this. And that's where you get the, that's how you can get the directional locks. Color locks, in this case, what I did was I linked to our conference schedule that we were supposed to have. And then I said, what are you looking forward to? Is it this keynote, cool tech sessions, elementary ones? And as you go through and follow along with these, each one of those has a color. And the text integration sessions have a color. And so you can use colors as a series of locks too. It's just a different way to do almost, you know, it's a different type of lock, a different way to try to get kids to think about things. Could be, you know, you could have, let's see, you could have like 5 events from the Cold War and have them each colored differently. And then if you put them in chronological order, you know, and my hint here was a rainbow of PD, you know, to try to get them to think of colors. But if you give them a hint like the Cold War was very colorful, especially when you put it in order, then they have to chronologically put those events in order. Any way you can get them to try to think and problem solve, that's where you can use color. You can use directions. I obviously like using directions for geography, but other people will use directions like if it's a grid. And there could be, think about this, you could have a grid of 8, like a tic-tac-toe grid, you know, 9 boxes, and have start in the middle, and then have 8 events all around that tic-tac-toe grid. And then going in order could be directions. And your directions don't have to be north, south, east, west. You can put in southeast, you can put in south, southwest, but also you can put in up, down, left, right, which can work as well. What are some other fun examples of clues that I would have you try to use? And by the way, the best way you can find out cool clues is to just do other breakouts. That's how I've found so many. Here's one I think you would like. I think is it this one? This is called Snotes. If you haven't used Snotes, S-N-O-T-E-S before, it's kind of fun. It's an outside link. All right. And you can, for free, you can make something that looks like this. What do you think? So what you do is the first capital that's upside down of the Wisconsin territory. See if I can get you to see that better. See that? Was near what current city? It's going to come in here somewhere. There it is, upside down. Kids struggle with this once, and then they get it right away. It's really, really cool. Snotes, all right? That's one thing you can do. Other clue that you could do is, so this is one that I, so this is one, you can actually link, instead of having different pages, you could go to a different document, like a Word document, make a copy of this document. This one I was super jazzed to have my social studies people look at because it involved a virtual tour, okay? A virtual reality tour of the state capitol. And they had to find the answers to all these questions, put them in here. And then those blue pictures, or those blue those blue boxes, they helped tell or they spelled out some words. But here's what I love. Oh man, I love this one. I think you'll all love it too. Do you see the letters in red or in blue? Does everybody see those letters in red or in blue? They say Command A. And if you look at Command A and click Command A, you'll see a message. Oops, hold on. My dog just got out. Excuse me, real quick. Pause. All good. All good. Sorry about that. Okay, so where was I here? Yes. If you use this Command A or Control A, I don't know if everybody sees that again, but see how it's got this hidden word, this hidden thing on the bottom here? Oh my God, that's so much fun. So what this tells them to do is unscramble those letters. All right, and this ends up spelling out a term or a word. I'll give you a hint. It's granite. Okay, that's a fun clue. Other fun clues that I have. Let's see, what else do I have in this one right here? Oh, here's one where I just linked it to an article about Old Abe, about the famous eagle for the 8th Wisconsin Infantry, and using the clue on the locks, they have to find out the date of Old Abe's death. So dates are always good too, especially for us history peeps. Let's see, capital right here. I did, oh, I'm sorry, that's the notes there. Oh, this one right here. So this is the Wisconsin state. This opens up to Wisconsin. And this opens up to a different site where this is a program called Genially, which is linked, and you can make little escape room or breakouts within Genially. And all this is this kind of a this kind of takes kids through a trivia it's almost learning by trivia. And I don't give them a link to the answers. They got to figure that out themselves. And this comes up faster. I apologize for my lag. But if you click here, and it just asks some questions. How tall am I? 15 feet 5 inches. Yep. Woohoo. Keep going. How much do I weigh? Oh no. Start over. 15 feet 5 inches. Keep going. How much do I weigh? 2.7 tons. Yes. And once I get through this entire thing, it'll give them a code at the very, very end, which was Lady Wisconsin. All right. This is called Genially. You can actually do this with your with Google Slides as well. All right. This one right here, I used an image. This is actually going to be a Google slide. And this is, what's the story of Madison becoming the first state capital? It must all add up. So the hint there is that they're going to have to add up this number, this number, this number, this number. Where do they get that? Well, in digital breakouts, you always have to kind of search around. Watch my my mouse pointer, my arrow, because it will go right to here. I click there, and it gives them a reading, a hidden reading, where they can get all the answers to add up those numbers. Okay, so they can find out how many non-Indian residents. That is, if they do the reading, it's right here. Okay, so obviously some of those clues are hard, some of those clues are easier. I try to mix up a little here and there. Sorry, we're having a cribbage tournament up here, so my in-laws. So those are some ideas that I would give you for clues. But if you look down here, there are so many clues, so many different ways. This right here is a way to create a rebus. You can do a fake Twitter conversation. I'm a big fan of just doing colored letters or numbers in something you type out. And you could just have a bunch of colored numbers, and if they add them, if they figure out, or you can have like numbers in blue that you want them to add and red that you want them to subtract. And sometimes they have to figure it out, or maybe you have a little clue. Emojis, Edpuzzle videos. If you've used Edpuzzle before, Edpuzzle is really a fantastic, if you haven't used it before, you might want to take a look at it just if you're going to be doing some virtual learning, because Edpuzzle is, you can take a YouTube video, you can edit it, chop it up or whatever, but also you can insert comprehension questions and they have to get them right. And then each one of the right answers could be a clue, or at the very end, they can get to the clue. But the cool thing is they can't fast forward through it. And if you integrate it with Google Classroom, you can check their answers for a formative assessment. Okay, that's Ed Puzzle. My friend Tom Mulaney, I've got a lot of links to his materials. He uses Ed Puzzle all the time. So think, if you want kids you want to force them to watch that 4-minute clip, Ed Puzzle is a way to do it. And then at the very end, you could have a clue. Or maybe it's one letter of a clue, and they got to watch 3 4-minute videos to give them a 3-letter clue. Options, right? Digital jigsaw puzzles are tons of fun. You can make them. You can make an interactive image on ThingLink. I think, Carly, were you asking about the colors? Yeah. A ThingLink. If you haven't used ThingLink before, ThingLink, you can take any image and create, and you can just tag it with different. You can tag it with different links or songs or video or whatever, and then again, you'll have to play with it because my lag is just killing me here. But you can this image of a hummingbird. You can put a map. You can put something here, something here. You can have embedded clues, or you could have, like, if these go in a certain order, you could have different color, anything like that. All right, those are fun clues. Ransom notes, fake concert tickets are tons of fun. You can add things onto a popular sign. You can add fake breaking news things. It's really kind of cool. So this is where, honestly, the best way to come up with some cool clues is to play with some other ones that are already out there. Play with some breakouts that are already out there, and not try to go too big the first time. You know, I've been doing these for a long time, and I really enjoy them. But I also, you know, I don't mind spending a ton of time on it. But not, you know, the first time you use it, just take a little bit of time with it. Okay. Let's see. Being a science teacher, I'm a fan of using the periodic table. That is awesome, Lori. That's a perfect example of how to do it, right? There's just so many things, and that's the cool thing. The sky is totally a limit when it comes to clues. I want to go back to this presentation. Actually, I want to stop real quick. Do you have any questions at all on the locks or the clues part of the whole thing? Because that's obviously the thrill of the chase, the fun part. If there's any questions at all, let me know, either on the chat or. You guys feeling okay about maybe making one with a couple clues? All right. Now, here's my favorite. Well, I keep on saying my favorite part, but I also love this. This is the celebration part. What happens when they get done on a digital breakout? Because in a physical breakout, it's obvious they win. They open the box. You know, I got my Jolly Ranchers in there. Things are good to go. But what happens when they break out of a digital breakout? Well, what I do, and I got this idea from Tom, I think, or maybe it's Amanda, who I'll introduce you to in a couple seconds. She's amazing. But I make a Padlet, or it could be a Google Doc, or it could be a Lino or whatever, and it's sort of a brag board. And the only way that they can find this address is if they break out. They can't, you know, it's not like searchable or anything. And then, so if they get to it, they get to brag. They get to put this. For this one, it was the Cold War. So I had them each make a spy name, a fake spy name, and then they could put what was their favorite thing that they learned about in the Cold War. We had three different Operation Cryptos here, so that's kind of fun. How do you do this? You go back to your form for your digital locks. Okay, so I'm back at my digital breakout locks, and then I'm going to go to settings. Okay, I'm going to go to presentation, and then here's the confirmation message. Once they get them all right, I can change that confirmation message to anything that I wanted to, and I can include a link. So on some of my confirmation letter lessons or messages, it says, click this link and brag, which is actually what I was hoping if you guys broke out of the Capitol, you could post something on the Capitol Rotunda, which is pretty cool. This could also go to a link, or it could say you could have them say something if they're doing it in class or something like that. You name it. But I do like that celebration factor as well. Let's go over here. Rachel, do I label the locks so students know which page they can find the clue on, or is it up to them to figure it out? I usually leave it up to them to figure it out. I don't, but I've done this, I've done this a lot with the kids, and I usually have like big breakouts, the big digital ones, the longer ones. We'll have like 3 or 4 a year, and then some of the smaller ones can be homework assignments or exit assessments. But I don't tell them exactly where, like which lock goes to where. To me, that's the frustration part that I like. I like kids to try to scramble with that. And then Lori, I want my kids to design one clue for a possible breakout box. Any suggestion for how to get kiddos into this? I got to tell you, I was going to share that with you. I'm going to switch to the back here. I've had students create breakouts on their own accord as part of a large assessment. I do a lot of choice when it comes to assessment. And these are some of the greatest breakouts and greatest assessments that I've had. And there's one of them is active. I think this one's not active, unfortunately, anymore. The locks aren't, but the site itself is. This was made by 2 8th graders, and they come up with ways to make the codes. After I've done it a lot, they'll come up with ways to make the codes. But Lori, what I would do is I would expose your kids to a breakout or two, and then have them come up with their idea for what would be their great breakout clue. And they can limit it to, like a certain number of letters, a certain number of numbers. It could be, and anytime you do numbers, it could be a math problem, subtraction. It could be putting things in order. It could be colors or whatever. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but it's really the sky's the limit. All that matters is their creativity. But you can see like this group right here, their locks don't work anymore because it was from a couple years ago. So their locks are, I think their locks are dead from their Google sites. But what was neat about theirs is they, we talked about 5 parts about World War I. And they, they wrote this, and then somewhere in here we had to find, I had to go through and break this and break out, which was cool. But what was great about it is that at the end, their lock, their celebration was leaving a memory who served in World War I, because I had a big part of their project was about legacy. So these kids used this breakout concept to make a legacy for World War I soldiers in memory. That to me was awesome. Not sure if I totally answered your question, but I think the best way to do it, Lori, is to expose them to more of these. Okay. So providing the hints for students doing this at home, I do think one of the easiest way for the hints, David, is on the lock forms themselves. That's an easy way to do it. And also, Tom Mulaney, that I've mentioned, he has kids. Email him. You might have to be waiting for it, but there's you could even have like a hint, like a separate hint page that would be fun if it was hidden. Like maybe it's a Command A, maybe it's like a hidden link or something like that. And if they find that hint page, that'll help them out. And again, it depends on what the overall purpose of your breakout is. I still want them to get the content. Sometimes it's for the fun, but I still want them to get the content. And that's where I actually have them take notes. I have note-taking documents on many of mine. Some of them are shorter, and it's just like, can you get these 12 quick terms from a reading on the Cold War? So one last thing I wanted to talk about were some twists. Okay. All right. So This one right here, I did not make. I love this one. But this is a twist to a digital breakout, okay? This is from Amanda Sandoval. She's amazing. I've got 11 of hers linked. She uses the Breakout EDU box or Breakout EDU format that looks like this, which again is pretty cool. And you could try it out too. There's a link to it. It's easy to use. It's pretty free to use. It's just kind of limited on how much you can put into it. But here's her twist. All right, I've had my students do this a couple times, and I want you to listen to this because this is awesome. I stole it for a different breakout. But so what she did is she's got 5 puzzles here. And by the way, I love how she set this up. So if you want to learn about suffrage, this is actually how I taught suffrage this year in our 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment. I had students complete this breakout because they're learning by themselves. They were in teams. There's an introductory video, which is pretty cool. She's got her narrative right here. Here's her clue tracker sheet. And so what she does here is she has kids write down some notes. You'll see it when it pops up here. Here's her 5 puzzles. She has kids write down her notes. There's one note for each, or one clue for each of the puzzles. But if you notice, each of the clues is going to be a series of numbers. All right. When those numbers get put together, it turns into a phone number. And she has a Google Voice phone number that when you call it, the person who answers is Woodrow Wilson, who says that, yes, we're going to ratify the 19th Amendment. And it's one of her friends who was acting as Woodrow Wilson. But when kids get this done and they got all these phones, it's hilarious. They do it, I've done it for the last couple of years. They get this phone number, and the first thing they'll do is they'll look at me and go, well, what do we do now? And I go, well, what is it? A phone number. Mr. Taft, what do we do now? I go, we'll call it. So they call it. And when they listen to this phone message, it's like, oh my God, the reaction is priceless. So that's a cool twist that you can do too. And also the reason why I wanted to bring this up to show you about Amanda's she has 5 puzzles, all right, that leads to 1 phone number. Then you call Woodrow Wilson, right? And then Woodrow Wilson will give you the keyword, which I believe is ratified. And this is what it looks like on the Breakout EDU site. Finish. And then click here to find your last message. Oops, I pressed replay instead. I messed that up. But so let me just show you again. RATI. And then the celebration here is you can click here and it takes you to this. It's not a celebration board, but it's way to go. You did it. And then there's her celebration board right here. Okay. And then you watch Bad Romance, Women's Suffrage, which is fantastic, by the way. So one last twist, and then I'm going to answer any questions, and I'm going to have you head out of here. I appreciate you hanging out. I hope this is helpful a little bit. Here's the last twist I want you to think about is that I do these in class, and when I do them in class, I have groups. I have kids in groups, and one of the reasons why I love regular breakouts is because they're active. You're up, you're around, you're moving around. I'm a big fan of butts out of seats. That's what I'm huge about. In a digital breakout, you're sitting there, right? Kids are sitting there. They're on the computer like they are right now, which is kind of a challenge to try to get them out of seats. So if you ever want to do this in class and you want to divide them into different groups, all right, this is my Wild West one. When they come into class, they're all in different groups. Oops, sorry about that. Homesteaders, Indian Wars, Buffalo, Dawes Act, all the different topics that we're talking about. They're in partners. And anytime they get a clue right, they have to get up and go over and put a slash on the leaderboard by their name. And the reason why I like that is because it does get them out up and around, but also it shows kids that are working, well, who's in the lead or whatever. But then to add to it, sometimes I make them do this. Headphones. And in this one, for the West, come on.
Say it. Say it. No, say it.
Yeehaw.
They had to yell yeehaw.
Come on. Come on. Oh, that's good. That's good.
Kind of more of a fun
Say
thing
it,
than
say
anything
it.
else. What a twist you can have on that, on the digital breakout experience. So, all right. So I hope this helped. Oh yeah, Laura, Hint Hub. I like that, Lori. Anything, you know, again, I hope this helped. This was an introduction. Hopefully you got one started. You got some ideas flowing. Is there anything else I can help you with right now when it comes to just in general how to do this? And realize that I obviously love talking about this and love helping you out. Love, you know, if I asked David to double check my capital breakout for me, and I'll return the favor for everybody. You know, any other questions at all that you might have? Awesome. Okay. You know, again, I hope this helps out. I'm gonna do it my first time with students. You know, and one other comment I would make too is obviously if we do this digitally and you do it virtually or whatever, some kids are gonna, you know, they're gonna share answers and stuff like that. That's all part of the game. You know, it's part of the world. I try to always say that, like when I do them in class, I run a timer, and I always say the short, whoever does it in the shortest amount of time is going to get, you know, my thing is Jolly Ranchers. So that way it helps them stay close-lipped. But you know, if it's about content as well, they can go through the whole breakout, but they still got to go back and look at the content because that's what I assess. But if you don't have any other questions, again, I appreciate this you hanging out for an hour. I hope this was helpful. Please, you can share the resources I sent your way to your colleagues and everything like that. Let me know how things go. And again, I appreciate it. I hope you're all staying happy and healthy, and hopefully we get back to real school soon. But since we're going virtual for most of us, you know, we're going to make the best of it. So hopefully this helped out. Okay. All right. You guys all take care. Again, I really appreciate you joining me, and Godspeed.